About a month ago, I was driving to work and lost total control of the rear end of my car. And I thought I had blown one of my tires. It felt like I hit ice, but it was 70 degrees outside. Once we got it up on the tow truck, found out what had happened. A piece had snapped in the rear suspension, and the driver had said it could be the trailing arm. Looking up countless videos of trailing arms, none of them have anything to do with this piece that had broken. And wouldn't you believe it, no video I could find for any make or model of any car has anybody replacing this. This is the rear suspension control arm. It's not the control arm, not the upper, not the lower. It's not the trailing arm. It's the suspension control arm. I had people at AutoZone stumped too about the part. No one seemed to know where it goes. But I found the part just by looking at pictures of all the parts for my car, and looking at the broken piece over and over. And yeah, so I found the part, and here's how I got it replaced. This part is supposed to be straight across, and it's bent, maybe like 2-3 inches out of whack, which means the whole wheel's bent. So I think what I need to do first is find out what is bent. I think it's this piece. Iron. I don't know what, probably what it is, but I'd have to get like some long bar, and put it on like the whole hub, and like pull out and try to straighten this and line that back up before I take it apart, so at least I can find out where it's supposed to be before I try to replace that. Alright, so this was kind of stupid, but it kind of worked. The hub goes all the way through. So I got this, so I got it stuck. Socket breaker bar. I thought it was pretty solid, but I bent the shit out of it. And anyway, I put it in the rod from the jack, the pole that you use to raise and lower the jack, and stuck the whole thing in here and just ranked on it a bit with all my force, and it's a little closer. The broken part here is almost lined up with where it broke off again. I might have to find some stronger bars or longer bars so I can get some more torque. But more to come on that. So this is the part. I even confused the guy at AutoZone because this says it's a rear suspension control arm, but everyone thinks control arm. All right, yeah, but this isn't the control arm. There's upper control arm, lower control arm, and then this, which is like kind of like one of those stabilizer link bars in the front. I don't know, but yeah, this is the piece. This is what's snapped about like right here. So I got some PB Blaster because I can't get any of that part apart. I got one nut off, which is like the adjustment nut for the toe or camber when you do an alignment. I don't know which is which, but I'm gonna blast it and see if I can get either of those sides off. All right, so everything's soaking. I need to get this nut out. That one I got off with the impact. And for reference, that's an 18 millimeter on either side of this. And down here is the other side. And this is a 22 millimeter. And I think I only got to get that one off. So I got to get both sides of this off to get that busted piece out. But down here, I only need to get this one off because the other side right here is, the nut is welded on. So that hopefully doesn't bust off when I hit the other side of the impact. But the problem also is I can't reach this. I need a short 22 impact socket, I guess. So I might have to see if they sell them individual somewhere. I'm not buying a whole ass another set of impact sockets just for one socket. All right, I got this side out from the part that was still attached by the wheel. The smaller half is still attached that I got the nut off previously. What I had to do was, it was a 21 metric socket, 21 millimeter metric socket that was this nut size. So I got this with a bunch of extensions on the nut, and then it broke those welds I was talking about. That nut was welded on, so it was just spinning. So I just put this breaker bar and a 7/16 inch. All right, let me just make sure, 7/8, my bad, 7/8 inch socket on there, just to hold back on it, and just cranked it. And these sockets are like hot as hell, but it finally started spinning with enough PV blaster on both sides, and now that's off. Now I just gotta somehow get that piece out. I can spin that. I can hit that with a hammer and move it all over the place, but I can't get the bolt out. I just need to push the bolt out. And I had I'm trying to put a C-clamp, but I can't like clamp it down all the way. I'm just trying to like do anything to feed that bolt out of there, and then I should be good to go to try to put this new piece in. All right, now that I have this jank set up working, I think I'm starting to get that nut out. So what I got going here, as you can see, the nut is right here. It's starting to come out because the threads are going in on this side. What I did was I got a C-clamp around the broken part just to get it stuck because it keeps spinning. The bolt is like grimed up on them crusty ass bushings, and it's just all one piece and it just keeps spinning. So I got that stuck. Then I'm cranking down with a ratcheting box wrench, 18 millimeters on this side, and it's kind of moving. So then I stuck a screwdriver behind the top of the nut or washer. I can't tell if it's two pieces yet. And I'm starting to get it to, separate as the tension from the screwdriver is pushing it little by little. It's working, but it's taking forever. God damn. This is the last remaining piece of that. I got the nut out half the way I was showing, or the bolt out half the way I was just showing, and then I had to hammer a screwdriver in the rest of the way to get it out. I couldn't fit the wrench on it anymore to turn it any farther, but it's out. So now we're gonna try putting that new one in. All right, it's back on there, or the new one's on there. So what I had to do to get this to line up is I had to loosen these two bolts that hold this part of the frame. I think this might be the trailing arm. I think that's the trailing arm. Anyway, I loosened these. I didn't take them off. And then I lined up this side best I could. And then because it was loose, I was able to just grab on the caliper and torque this over just a little bit while holding the bolt in the hole over here, and it eventually slipped in. Then I was able to torque the caliper a little harder and get it to go through the rest of the way. And then I just put the wrench on the nut right here and just pried it, or like I leveraged it on the metal down there, and just, you know, sent the bolt the rest of the way through. Then you got to get this washer on here. That's like a oblong washer. You got to line it up so it sits inside of these two ridges here. Otherwise it won't be, you know, flush to the mount. And once that's like lined up in there, you can, you know, crank this down. I know that there's probably torque specs for everything in here, but I can't find shit on this, so that's why I'm documenting this, because this is the first time I ever heard of this suspension control arm, and I have not seen one video that, for any make of car, that had to, you know, replace this piece. Everything else is always upper or lower control arm. So yeah, now that that's back in, I am going to try to get it off of the jack stands without dropping it, and put the wheel back on. Well, I'll put the wheel back on first and then take it down, and then see if I have to adjust it anymore. Obviously I'm gonna have to get an alignment, because I don't know, you know, how out of spec this is gonna be, but should be good enough for me to drive to the corner and get an alignment. And I forgot to mention before I take the jack down, I jacked up the whole hub assembly here to line that piece back up. Otherwise it would have been way off. It is with the wheels back on, or the wheel back on. It looks relatively straight. Obviously I'll have to get an alignment, but I'm gonna take it around the block and see how it goes. Also, I do have the other wheel and it's all good. I had to get the valve stem replaced, but it has slim lug nuts, so I gotta figure out where the key went for them.